just.
We'll call the August 21st, 2017 Planning and Zoning Commission meeting for Polk City, Iowa to order. Number 2, roll call.
Dietz.
Here.
Triplett. Here. Hankins.
Here.
Vogel.
Here.
Bowersox. Here. Sires.
Here.
Hill.
Here. Item 3, approval of the agenda. So moved. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Item 4, the audience. Any item not on the agenda that anyone would like to address at this time? Hearing none. Item 5, approval of the P&Z Commission meeting minutes for July 17th, 2017.
Make a motion to approve the minutes as written.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Item 6, Big Creek Technology Campus. 6A, consider motion to recommend council approve preliminary plat for Big Creek Technology Campus Plat 3.
Hi, I'm Jerry Oliver. I'm a civil engineering consultant. 2486th Street in Des Moines. I'm here with Tom Whitman of Knapp Properties, who represents the owner. This is kind of a repeat of what you saw last in May, in which this is in Big Creek Technology Campus. It is the extension of the public street of East Vista Lake Avenue, another 250 feet to the east of where we last platted it. This then preliminary plat has a 2-lot industrial lots, one on the south, which is approximately 2 acres, and outlot on the north, which is also approximately 2 acres. This is the first of 2 items on your agenda. This is the preliminary plat. The final plat is the next item, which essentially is the final plat of the same 2 lots that you see here. The preliminary and final plat were submitted to the city, and staff has been reviewed by Snyder and Associates, and it's our belief that the plat that you see in front of you is recommended by Snyder and Associates, and all the contingencies have been addressed. So I would be happy to answer any questions that the commission has.
Questions from anyone? Any input from staff?
Just one thing I was going to mention is that we're anticipating taking the construction drawings for East Vista Lake Extension, which is a city project, to City Council a week from tonight, and where they would be setting the date for the bid letting and the public hearing on the project, like September 25th. So construction on the utilities would start this fall.
Okay. Any questions, comments from the audience?
It's nice to see somebody come before us and look at the review comments and see it says middle number 2 addresses all staff review comments. I don't know if there were that many.
Well, they were onerous.
But that just says you're doing your job, and we appreciate that, and it saves us a lot of time and heartache. So
Thank you.
We appreciate it, Jerry. I'm ready to make a recommendation. All right. I'll recommend that P&Z approve the preliminary plat, Big Creek Technology Campus Plat 3, subject to the following. I don't think there were any recommendations. Just payment to the city finance director and all application review fees.
Second.
Roll.
Triplett. Yes. Hankins.
Yes.
Vogel.
Yes.
Bowersox.
Yes.
Sires.
Yes.
Hill.
Yes.
Dietz.
Yes. Item 6B, consider motion to recommend council approve the final plat for Big Creek Technology Campus Plat 3.
Same as previous.
Any additional input from anyone?
Okay. If we're ready, I'll go ahead and make
Go
a
ahead.
motion. On the final plat review for the Big Creek Technology Park Plat 3, I recommend P&Z approve this for Knapp Properties, subject to the recommendations, which again would just be the legal and application fees.
Second.
Roll.
Sires,
Yes.
Hill,
Yes.
Dietz.
Yes.
Triplett. Yes. Hankins,
Yes.
Vogel,
Yes.
Bowersox.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Item 7, Iowa Asset Acquisition LLC, Wolf Creek Townhomes Plat 12. Item 7A, consider motion to recommend council approve the request from Iowa Asset Acquisition LLC to eliminate the ADP and final plat requirements that 15% masonry be provided on rear-facing elevations facing North 3rd Street. Anyone here to speak on this item? Do you guys have any?
Let me give you a quick background. As you will recall, Iowa Asset Acquisition has been in front of you, and one time they missed a meeting, the second time they were in, and it deals with 15% architectural panels on street-facing facades.
Public street, right?
Public street would probably be a better one. They did meet with the people of Wolf Creek. Wolf Creek did send a letter, and this is the Wolf Creek Homeowners Association, did send a letter that they approved of the plan. When this was put on the agenda, I sent an email suggesting that our meeting's at 6 o'clock and there may be further questions.
Are they here tonight?
I do not believe so.
They didn't show up again tonight?
I'm sorry,
Are they here tonight?
No, sir.
Nobody here to speak. So it looks like we have a letter from Al Burrows stating they met with the homeowners in the packet, so.
And in your packet also, you have their landscape improvement, where they're calling out 7 ornamental trees, which are prairie, fire crabapple, 4 overstory trees, which are fairway Norway maple, and 9 new evergreen trees, Colorado spruce. That would be done, or they're proposing that be done in lieu of the 15% architectural panel.
Well, I think this is great, and I'm glad that he went back and did at least meet with them. But he never maintained what he put in the first time. So what guarantee do we have he's going to do it again? Not do it again, I mean. So I just have a concern about that.
At what point is it turned over to the association when?
That was a question that I had to him at the same time, that at 6 o'clock you will probably want to be able to answer the question of when it is no longer your responsibility and the responsibility of the association.
Well, it looks like they did at least get together and discuss, and it looks like they've come to a consensus, but with neither the homeowners association or the developers here, I suggest we just table it until next meeting.
I would agree.
I agree.
You need a motion for that?
A table is a motion, otherwise no action.
Is there a difference either way we go?
That doesn't take a motion.
Okay. Everybody good with that?
Yes.
I am. I mean, we have questions and we don't have anyone to answer.
Yeah.
I mean, we aren't in any means, I think, adverse to what's being talked about, but we just have some follow-up questions and would like to know how that's going to be documented and handled and when it's going to be done.
They're finally gonna get through tonight.
All right, so we'll take no action on 7A. Item 8, West Elementary, North Polk Community School District. Consider motion to recommend council approve amended site plan for West Elementary, North Polk Community School District. Lead us off on this one.
Honorable Commissioners, my name is Mark Murphy, Abakai Consulting, 101 Northeast Circle Drive, Grimes, Iowa. Also with me tonight in the audience are Tim Olson and Kevin Stromer with Ethos Group from across the street here in Polk City. So we previously had gone through the and got the site plan approved. After approval, we had an issue where the school became concerned about maintaining a soccer fields. We had some, there was some noise made about trying to keep those soccer fields. So, and there's been previous discussion about the location of one of the playground equipment areas. And the principal there finally decided that she could live with moving the playground equipment a little bit to the east and pulling the hard surface playground to the south, which allowed us to keep the soccer fields. And then we had some trees that we had to make adjustments with. So we're back in front of you tonight just with a relatively minor site plan amendment, and we're hoping to get your approval tonight.
Mark, you've seen the recommendations, right, from Snyder, the two?
The two recommendations, yeah.
Do you want to address those?
Well, the stormwater management plan calculations, we've resubmitted those, so those are not a problem. And then as far as the arborvitae west of the soccer fields, the school wants to satisfy whatever the city wants of the neighbors. I had this discussion with one of the Randy Carroll actually on site about a week and a half ago about potentially putting some arborvitae along there. We talked about, there's pluses and minuses, and over my yard, I would rather have it open to the back. It just depends on the owner, but we can certainly put a row of arborvitae in there if that's what you guys, your wisdom want to happen. But
A row would be how many?
every 3 feet for one of those yards has a 6-foot privacy fence in it. There's a pretty good sized garage that eats probably 25-30% of the backyard of another one. So we could put 40 or thereabouts in
And how big
space them every 4 to 5 feet.
How big would they be?
I believe they have arborvitae. I believe have a diameter of around 4 feet or so.
High too?
And then they're 6 to 8 feet
That high.
tall, I think.
When they're mature, right?
Right, yeah.
Thank you.
I'm trying to figure out exactly where the change is.
Well, the hard surface playground in the southwest corner of the site, just on the east side of the detention basin there, we moved that south a little bit. And then there was a swing, I think we had a swing set that we had shown, previously shown on the north side of the hard surface playground area. And then we had a playground area It was gonna be more in the area where the existing swing set is, but we moved the playground area east, I believe, and then we left the swing set where it is, so that's not changed at all from its existing.
Can you point that out on the map? Can you-
So, there's this hard surface playground area was up here a little bit. And then there's a swing set that we had that on the north side of it. And then we had, there's a playground equipment area that right now is setting over here. And we're moving that over here. So,
Okay, thank you.
they're pretty simple changes.
So you've got 11 trees to be relocated versus the original 19.
Right.
Are those just random areas around, or are they?
The relocation areas?
Yeah, I mean, are they? We're not taking away some buffering from somebody that originally had it.
Not really. I think a lot of them were originally in the very south section and sort of along that park area. So they really weren't buffering.
So that walkway to the school coming from West Side Drive?
Yeah. And then there's that park on the west side of that walkway. And then the trees that got relocated were all just north of that park area.
So what's the reason for not replacing those trees on that walkway?
Well, it's a stormwater detention basin now.
So those 11 trees you're talking about, you're just moving them someplace else.
They got moved.
So really, there's no change in trees there.
Not with those, no.
And as I went through this, on the second one, you took 11 trees away, and on the third one, you added a tree, and then when I get down to the bottom, you added 14 more trees. So at first when I started reading this, I thought you were taking less trees away, but you actually added 15 trees to the site plan. Is that right?
And some arborvitae.
Yeah, plus that.
Yeah. I long ago lost track of how many trees we had going for it.
I'm ready. Anybody else is ready?
I don't know what you have in mind for the buffer on the left side of the soccer field, if you want arborvitae there, or I'm sure the school is willing to do whatever, whenever, so I would think if one of the neighbors comes and says, can we do more arborvitae or one or the other, they're gonna work to keep the neighbors happy, so.
Gary, have any of the neighbors approached you?
I have had one of the neighbors approach me. It was not on trees. Just recently, it was on the drainage, and I think Mr. McMurphy has had a meeting with that person, and I haven't heard anything since. When the trees were being removed about 2 months ago, I don't know the exact date, the telephone was ringing constantly on the number of trees being removed, at which time I went up reviewed the site, reviewed the plans that had been approved, and find out that they did not match, at which time I called for an amended site plan.
So everything matches now?
Close. I think it's close. I believe it does, but I don't want to really say, as a matter of fact, every tree is accounted for.
Staff good with these changes? Or do you have some recommendations other than what we're seeing?
I like the idea where there is some type of a buffer in that soccer field. I think that's going to make good neighbors. Whether or not a house or a fence, fences come, garages come and go, and so or arborvitae for that matter. I think it's would be nice for the person that is making changes on the property, in this case the school, try to accommodate all. Because if they put it in front of one person and then stop because they had a fence, they're going to have the same issue, just that it's pushing it down the road, if you will. So I think if they're going to do it, they put a row of arborvitae.
Uniform. So does the city have a review of this? They'll
There'll
come
be a-
back and show
There'll be a review of the site plan before they get
So
a
you can look at
certificate
it.
of occupancy. That is correct.
They seem agreeable to put it wherever you want it. Tell them if, I want to put a number on it, so. And if for some reason you think it's too many, I guess.
A number would be fantastic, because that would be easier for us as staff to say, okay, we have 76 here, and we have X at this other location.
Can I ask a question?
Ready?
Yes. So what exactly, Gary, I couldn't really, what exactly went wrong with the original site plan? Because like you, when they were taking the trees, I sit on the school board, and I received a lot of phone calls, and I said, yeah, we're following the site plan, and I didn't find out until the beer tent, Friday night of the Four Seasons Festival, that we in fact did not follow the site plan, which I'm not too happy about. Nothing was communicated to the board. This updated site plan hasn't been communicated to the board, which I'll handle at a different date, but what can I go back to these? I had two that have been on me about this, so what can I tell them? Saying, yeah, we did in fact go against the site plan?
The site plan was not followed, Joe. And when I started receiving complaints here at City Hall about the number of trees being removed, that some of the neighbors had been assured that those trees were going to stay in previous conversations. That's when I called for an amended site plan. It was the only way to address those trees that are left, and now how are they going to get put back?
Mm-hmm. Okay. Is there anything that I could, is there a proposed site plan that because I don't even have a copy of the updated one that I can take and look at and be sure it does work?
Can we get your name and address too?
Joe Heinz,
Okay.
845 Lakeview Avenue.
Now, I have a question. If the school, has the school board approved this? How is this coming to us without the school board's approval in the first place? I mean, I don't know. How does that work?
I'll speak to that issue. Tim Olson, Ethos Design Group, 119 2nd Street, Polk City. We were directed by the owner before construction documents were released to make provisions for soccer fields to accommodate community soccer programs. And
By the owner, you mean the school district?
the school district, yes. Specifically, the director of facilities and the superintendent. The changes were made to the construction documents just prior to bidding, and prior to that, the soccer fields were being eliminated because of the required stormwater detention requirements that are required by the city, the DNR, and appropriately so. So all those issues have been resolved. The trees that were proposed that were being removed were listed on the site plan that was submitted to the city. Following that, the changes to the site plan were directed by school administration which we followed to find a home for the 2 soccer fields that are currently out there.
Right.
One's a medium size and one's a smaller one. In order to accommodate that, presumably, hundreds of kids that play soccer and their parents and coaches and whatnot, we did that. There were 3 or 4 other trees and unfortunately a couple of more mature trees that had to be removed in order to accommodate the soccer fields. So the revised site plan was included in the bid documents that were sent out to contractors, and the same set of bid documents was submitted to the city by the contractor for a building permit. What we didn't do, and probably should have done, was to resubmit, and those building plans went to Safe Buildings for their review of the building bid documents. What probably would have helped to alleviate this would be if we'd have sent an updated site plan to the city and to Snyder and Associates with an update. That's what's occurring this evening. And the conversations that were allegedly had about specific trees not being removed, I don't know who made promises or who was speaking on behalf of the school that specific trees were being removed or wouldn't be removed. We don't have any information about that, but we've heard from some of the neighbors that I know, and we've heard from the city, we've heard from the school district that there have been concerns expressed by neighbors, and that's likely to happen on a project like this where you've got school trying to accommodate the desires and the needs of many, many people, whether it's neighbors who are fond of a particular tree, whether it's parents who have kids in soccer, whether it's the DNR that requires stormwater detention. There's really a lot of demands being made on that public property. So we did what we were directed to do by the district administration. Joe, you're right, this did not go back before the school board. It should have. I'll take responsibility for that. And I'll make sure you get a full-size set of drawings with an explanation. But much of this was done in haste to get the bid documents out, which were sent out to bid to contractors the day after the bond referendum passed. So that's basically an overview of what's transpired. Mark Murphy from Abakai has been very accommodating and updating things, but in the flurry of activity that occurred not just with the West Elementary project, but also the middle school project, which is under the jurisdiction of Polk County, that's what transpired, is that we did not resubmit the site plan with the final changes that were sent out to bid, and that should have been done. So my apologies to the commission, but that's kind of just a general overview of what transpired between now or February and now.
Yes,
May I
sir.
ask a question?
Yes.
How close are the soccer fields to the fence line?
Mark, I don't know if you can answer that. Kevin thinks it's 20 feet. It's similar to what it is now. We had to change the orientation of the larger field and move it further north because of the hard surface playground and the stormwater detention, which is actually a pretty large area.
It's roughly 15 foot off the.
Mark, would you show him the drawing? Physically show him the drawing. It's on C004, I think.
See, this is the soccer field here, and that's the west property line. That's about 15 feet here. It's a painted line on the grass. So it's not a real improvement per se, but it becomes a matter of what happens to sort of the grades climb up on the easterly side as you get closer to the school. The grades climb up, so it's going to be a matter of how the soccer club goes out and paints those lines out there. We're not going to lay the lines out for them. It's going to be up to them to go out and do that.
So you're saying it can be moved. I think it looks on the one end to me that it's probably closer to 10, but I mean, jog one to the other, but your question is relating to putting the trees between the fence and the, might run out of road. The hill go back up, yeah. Guess that's, if we're gonna put trees or bushes between there, I mean, what do we need for separation between the fences and the,
Well, I mean, with an arborvitae, you know,
be 4 foot?
they're about this big around,
Okay.
you know, it's mature, so.
So we're gonna have kids running into bushes all the time?
You know, soccer players are usually running into each other.
They go off the field a lot.
At 4, they're everywhere.
And there's no way to move them further to the east?
You know, it sort of depends on what the soccer club can tolerate, because the grade climbs up as you go to the east, get on the east side of that field, where I've got that field delineated. However, we can't do any grading over there because it's above the gas lines. So.
Well, I was gonna make a recommendation, but I'm a little concerned that the school board doesn't know about it. Yeah,
I don't want to hold it up, I'm just,
okay,
you know.
that's what I wanted to hear.
I can't make the decision for the whole board for crying out loud, no.
Yeah.
I don't want to hold the project up either, but I'm here more to go back to the people that have been in my ear about what are we doing to make the corrections. Is what I'm after.
Right, which is concerning, I guess, I agree.
Well, I guess, I mean, whatever recommendation we make, it's still a school board's property. You know, presume whatever we recommend, you'll either agree with or not.
If they're not on board with them, what, we come back through here again?
Come back through.
They've already done a lot of this, haven't they?
Yes.
So, I mean,
It's more about what's going back in.
yeah. I mean, if we don't recommend it, then they're gonna have to put everything back.
If you can tell me how that can be done with the tree, I'm all in.
I don't want this turned into wastewater retention or wastewater treatment facility out there.
You know, schools are such on critical time schedules that, you know, it really hurts the kids if we hold something up. But it doesn't sound like we're gonna hold anything up other than the school board's gonna get a chance to review it. And, you know, I'm sure, hopefully they'd be fine with it, that they'd understand the necessity of what the changes took place, so. That's a very good point. Okay, Mr. Chairman. I'm gonna recommend that we approve the site plan that's amended for West Elementary School, subject to the following. The recommendation for buffering of the soccer field, that the school work with the city staff in locating and planting a row of at least 40 uniform arborvitae, is that how you say that? West of the soccer fields as a buffer. And I guess number 2 here says above mentioned reviewed comments shall be satisfactorily addressed prior to item being placed on the council agenda and full payment of the fees to the city finance director.
I'll second that.
Roll.
Dietz.
Yes.
Triplett. Yes. Hankins.
Yes.
Vogel.
Yes.
Bowersox.
Yes.
Sires.
Yes.
Pills.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item 9, Whitetail Ridge. Consider motion to recommend council approve the preliminary plat for Whitetail Ridge plat 1. Name and address, and you can have.
Good evening, Commission. Chris Bauer, Shive Hattery Engineers, out of 4125 Westtown Parkway, Suite 100 in West Des Moines, Iowa. This is brought back in front of you. This is the Plat 1 and 2 for the Whitetail Ridge development. We've also got Jared Runkle here is the landowner, and Kelsey Eriksberg is the design engineer for Shive Hattery here also. So based on the comments at the last board meeting, we have revised the plats to show the future parkway, which we are referring to as Whitetail Parkway, to curve into Hug Drive with the future relocation of Hug Drive into a cul-de-sac, which would align further south with those future roads. So you'll refer to Snyder and Associates summary there with kind of some of the, they're referred to as issues, but they're really just points of reference as far as as part of the Plat 1 and 2 right now, Hug Drive will not be revised until the future parkway is extended, and we have those alternate connections for Hug Drive. Some of the discussions from last time that we looked at based on our traffic engineers and safety requirements, we're trying to, again, eliminate those intersections there and get that future parkway as a more through street going toward the eventual stop and turn onto the Big Creek Dam crossing there. We've also addressed some of the sidewalk comments that we received last time. We are showing a sidewalk now along the southerly side of Hug Drive there to continue, and then it ties into the cul-de-sac, which has a connection between lot 3 and 4 there over to the eventual 10-foot bike trail along the future parkway to get that continuous sidewalk contained there. So I'll open it up to questions at that point if there's other items you want me to touch on.
I have a question about lot 2, that triangular piece there.
Yep.
Now, there's no sidewalk, at least I couldn't find one. That goes right along here, I'm showing you right here.
Yep.
See the yellow or sidewalks?
Correct. Yep.
There's no sidewalk along that
Yeah,
lot.
I've got all the sidewalks.
Along the road. I'm on C102.
So, yep, so there's a highlight of all the sidewalks there. So you're referring to
The triangular lot on the north side there,
Yep.
between the cul-de-sac and
this
the,
is a different plat. This is lot 2, but yeah. So that lot, in essence, is really unbuildable in the initial plat. The intention is that once the Hug Drive portion is vacated in that stretch, that lot 2 then becomes part of this outlot 5 in plat 2. And that buildable house lot opens up this kind of entire area into one lot. I don't know if I described that very good. I need to.
you're saying that lot 2 that's on our plan,
Correct.
C102, is not buildable? Not currently.
Not currently, correct. It will be combined with outlot Y on plat 2 and the eventual vacation portion of Hug Drive and become one lot right here.
Why do you think it's not buildable?
Correct.
Why do you think it's not buildable?
Believe the setbacks and buildable area there really don't allow for that to be a buildable lot. I believe, is that designated somewhere, Kelsey? I can't remember. Yeah.
It's not.
Okay. I think we certainly can designate a non-buildable
It's not
lot,
because of
yeah.
topography?
Because of, topography and area there. It needs to be combined with that really unbuildable portion of outlot Y on the other side of Hug Drive.
I don't see a lot of topography on lot 2 at all here.
More the shape, is that what you're saying?
Yeah,
shape
more
of
the
the
shape, yeah, it's just a buildable area on the lot, yeah.
Well, I don't agree with that either. That's a half acre.
Well, I'm not saying you
That's
couldn't
almost
build a house on it.
21,000 square feet of lot.
And that's why I believe it's not designated non-buildable, but the intent of the landowner is to combine that with those other ones and have a
Okay, I
larger
understand that, but he could sell it, the way you've got it.
Correct.
The way you've got it here, he could sell it, somebody could come along and buy it. And then there's no sidewalk connection, and this Hug Drive thing could be years before that's ever done. And so my contention is that, sorry, I know it's a lot of money, but it is a buildable lot. I don't agree with you, and that's from a professional standpoint. And also, I think that sidewalk ought to be extended.
Is that the only one that, let me ask you a question, as I look at lot 2, and you have a future driveway location out onto Whitetail Parkway, if that was combined with the lot behind it, could access be off of the hug and we wouldn't have that onto Whitetail Parkway? You see what I'm saying?
If the intent is to not have it be built upon until after they're joined.
I believe so. I think if that's acceptable, I think to the landowner, we can just designate a non-buildable lot in Plat 1. And then that would become a buildable lot once the road is put in and Plat 2 is combined.
Okay. I can understand that.
Would that work with what I'm looking at, trying to get that access off of Whitetail Parkway if possible?
Can I, what staff had recommended is that the way it's shown right now is a hammerhead, and we've actually recommended that it be more of a knuckle, so it kind of acts like a cul-de-sac there. That would allow the opportunity for that lot 2 and outlot combination to have driveway access onto that bubble, if you will.
Okay, on hug, you're saying?
On hug rather than on the parkway.
Is that acceptable to you guys, that idea, or is there any?
So the reason we set this up this way is because there is this non-buildable lot on the south side of the road that's really a beautiful area. There's beautiful land there. And when you combine that after the parkway goes in, I think the way that lot has value is to put the lot facing that. So the south end of the house, or south side of the house, would be the back of the house overlooking the trees and the ravine basically going down into the creek. So that's really why we set it up. And as far as the sidewalk along here, essentially we didn't show that because we're not building anything there and we didn't want to have to tear it back out when this gets removed and vacated because we need to have a sidewalk through the middle of the backyard of this property. So
Yeah, I understand that. So let's take lot 2 off the plat plan. So it's not a platted lot.
Right, you could just label it as an outlot, whatever, whatever you don't have.
It'll just require us to go, we're trying to avoid having to go through another plat just for that lot once the other one. So setting it up this way, then that lot could just be combined with the vacated portion.
You're going to have to do it anyway. Once you combine it, everything changes. So that's not an argument either. Just label it an outlot.
Well, lot 2 touches that sidewalk down there, right? I mean, would it not end there for the next lot? I mean, would that not be sidewalk access too?
Eventually,
I don't know how it would be laid out in the future.
Eventually, they will have a little sidewalk there, and then they'll have it all along this side, once the parkway goes in the future.
But there's no other lots down that dead end part of Hug right there?
Correct. Yeah, down here now.
But we could call for a sidewalk to be extended over to that at the time that we're going to do that.
And I guess that's why I'm asking is what the future plan looks like.
And that's part of the reason what we're doing was, and again, because it's for one lot, and I apologize, I brought a very small over. But we did ask them to, and then make this clear, Doug, too, is that we asked them to have a sidewalk connection from over that cul-de-sac here. So this is one lot, and they would have access, they'd have a sidewalk in their front yard, they would have access along here, along the cul-de-sac, and then across to that parkway as a side lot line. Yep. So that really the Hug Drive sidewalk isn't dead end in that
Is that
respect.
shown on the drawing I just didn't see?
It should be, but it's kind of hard to see, but there's
it's
a
not
sidewalk
perfect.
right there, and then of course there's a trail here.
Yeah.
So it would connect to the
So
trail
that's
side.
a sidewalk.
It's got cross.
Just not known there.
Yep.
Gotcha. Thank you.
So I think on this kind of shows the overall, what that would look like in the future. So you see the parkway coming through here. In the buildable area, you see the drop off is really steep right against the current Hug Drive, but when Hug Drive is vacated between those two, sets up for a really nice lot, a nice big lot with the trees in the back. It's a very desirable lot for somebody.
Yeah. Just to come to the front door.
Oh, yeah, nobody ever uses it.
Yeah.
But just like Chris said, then essentially you'd have the sidewalk on the parkway for going across the front.
I'm fine with it. I understand you not want to put a sidewalk in there. I know what they cost.
Oh, that's not that big
And
a deal.
if
Just
nobody's
makes
ever
sense
using
to
it,
tear
that's a
out.
lot of money, but We drive in parts of our city now where there are no sidewalks at all.
Right.
Because we didn't make them do it when they did it.
It's hard to retrofit some of them.
Yeah, and so, some of the houses are right on the street down here, where they put the new street in. Just make it an outlet, if you're agreeable with that, that's my concern. I compliment you for keep coming back to us and trying to take our comments and do something with it. I think that's a real positive thing. Appreciate that.
Yeah, I guess I don't really have a problem with an outlaw. I guess what was your thought on
The only-
that? Showed it as a lot.
The only problem is, I believe if we plat it, Kathleen, correct me if I'm wrong, if we plat it as a lot now, then once this is vacated, those can all just be combined without a platting process there. Since they're all
Well, yeah, but
platted there.
but when you're gonna incorporate the right of way too, you would have to plat it certainly if you make it an outlet. I don't know for sure if you could accommodate it
Because
without.
it's just adjacent, similar to kind of how we're doing these outlets, we're just saying they're linked to the adjacent lots.
Right.
That's how we got it set up. But again, that's pretty minor, that if you're not comfortable with that, we can just label it as an outlot, and we'll just have to come back as a.
Well, it's just my opinion. I'm only one person.
Whatever the commission wants, we can.
I don't see an issue with it either way, really. Like I said, our intent is not to sell that now. It would just be vacant land, and essentially the grading would be done to get that parkway set up so it's ready to go into the future. So.
Any questions or comments in the audience, or?
Yeah, we did have the 4 comments that we would want those 4 to be addressed in addition to the review that I made before it goes to council.
So the owner and the engineers are in compliance with that, those comments that you have?
I guess I haven't heard anything from them.
Just say that.
Yep.
If that lot 2 is changed, does it have to come back again for that thing?
It would have to come back after, once they were at a point that they were constructing that parkway and vacating the right of way, they would have to come back and replat the outlot that's in lot 2.
It seemed like it'd have to be combined.
Yeah, they would have to combine them anyway. It's just, they wouldn't be able to do it by a lot type agreements, tying those 3 pieces together. It would be a replat there.
Now, a lot tie agreement, I guess, would come before us too, wouldn't it?
Probably. And they could potentially do it through a platted survey if you waive the requirements for further platting, which is a little bit simpler process. Maybe, potentially, that might be an option. Have to check into it for sure to see if that would work. But since all the public improvements would already be in place at that point in time.
Right.
But if this is approved like this, with the recommendation that it be changed to an outlaw, does that have to come back? Or, can that?
No, because that recommendation then would go on to council, and the plans that went to council would have to show that outlaw.
So then we can address the lot 2 or outlot driveway location at that time? Or is this a good time to say that we really don't like it on the parkway?
I think you just put that as part of your motion, is that that'll be revised to an outlet, yeah.
She's talking about the driveway access.
Oh,
Just make sure you're on the same page. on that.
That you could do when it comes back, because since that lot, it won't be buildable until they come back before you. So,
Any other questions or?
That's the only way they're gonna get to that lot, isn't it? It's gonna,
It might be able to come off that knuckle.
yeah.
come off the knuckle.
That was
Yeah.
my only question, but I get your
Once they're
point.
Oh, okay.
combined, then they would have access off of that.
Okay.
Right.
So the knuckle would be shown and they could do it at that time.
Yep.
Yeah, right. I'd make it part of the motion now, let's take it off. It's
Yeah.
on these plans.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's up to you. I mean, you certainly can.
Are
Again,
you
it's
guys
not
open to that, or
buildable
is
at
that-
this
I mean-
point, so that's.
Well, it's,
I was trying to look at how you could accommodate that if you,
essentially, if you came off of the knuckle, then I would say you would just about have to orient the house so the front of the house would face towards the knuckle. I don't know how you would, so basically the back of the house, the deck.
if you face the front, you'd never use your front door. I mean, it'd be a side built garage or something, and
I think that the lot is more desirable off of the parkway.
In front of the house facing the parkway.
So you have the front of the house face the parkway, and the back of the house
backs out over the valley.
is wooded lot.
And I personally agree with you that would make for, that's the desirability about that lot. Another way to potentially achieve getting the back of the house facing the view might be to have a shared access between, I think it's lot 6, in the, on the other side of the road that we're going to be talking about later with this lot 2, and essentially have one shared access between those two lots that would need some sort of an agreement between those lot holders as far as maintenance and those kinds of things, but that might be another option.
Yep.
Then you could have at least a side access garage to the house facing that and have the back of the house facing the view.
Yeah, I think we'd be open to that. The only challenge there is we were kind of figuring that this driveway would be here, but I think you could move it down here. The current access is down in this area. The only challenge there would be is that, this house is gonna go in and we just have to have something in the development agreement or some kind of an agreement that they know that they're gonna have to extend their driveway in the future out to the new road or.
And that they're gonna need to take on that property when it's vacated as well, yeah.
I think we can work through that, usually, Chris.
But that really
Again,
gets,
if we
that
make
gets
that an
us down
outlaw,
to
we'll have to
just,
come back to you with those proposed plans.
that gets us down to just 2 access points for individual homes, the one that you live in or are building currently, and then those 2 combined. And if we can get it down to just those 2, I think that'd be personally, I think that'd be a good thing. And then still have the ability to have the house built where you can see the view.
Yep. I think that'd be great.
I would remove that at this time, you're saying?
Correct.
And come back later. Any other comments, questions?
And Park is handled through a development agreement, or as far as how that's the park dedication portion.
And they're paying fees,
That would be, the developers propose to pay a fee, so that happens at the time the final plat comes through.
Oh, so that's documented at that point in time.
Well, I want this thing to go through, and I think it's there. But I still think that we need to take the note off and the drawing, or the lines that says appropriate future, or approximate future driveway location. And, because it's meaningless. And I also would like a note added that, to where the sidewalk is, because it's not noted on the drawings between the cul-de-sac and the future parkway.
Just a call out. You're looking
Yeah, just put a note there. I mean, I went through it and. Is it not shown on there? Yeah, it's shown, but it's not noted. Okay.
further clarification.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Certainly.
There's so many lines on here that, you know. It's busy.
Yeah, it's a little messy there.
And that's something staff asked them for.
Yes, we can certainly add that note.
Yeah, just as a curiosity, one of the other comments that we had was naming that the north-south collector street. I didn't know if you came up with any thoughts on what you might want to name that, just in case.
We have, and we're open to ideas.
Okay. Just kidding.
We like Whitetail Parkway for the east-west.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
You're out there first, so you gotta call it after your development.
We once had one called Deer Hollow Point, so. Not here, somewhere else.
That'd be interesting at that intersection.
Yeah.
Polk Parade Trail.
Okay.
Yeah, the cul-de-sac, I think.
Yeah, I'll take a stab at it, and I'll be happy to have other folks take on as well. So I'll make a motion to recommend to council approval of the preliminary plat for Whitetail Ridge Plat 1, subject to engineers' comments, review comments, and recommendations that are dated August 16th, 2017, with some additional comments from the commission. One, that a note be added to the diagrams indicating a sidewalk is present between what is currently labeled as Lot 3 and Lot 4. That Lot 2 is changed to an outlot, that the current access to Lot 2 is removed, and likely an additional tree would be inserted there in the parkway, and that the future access to Lot 2 be a shared driveway between this Lot 2, which will be renamed an outlot, and the Lot 6 from Whitetail Ridge Plat 2.
Or could it come out the other way? Could we give them that option if they want to do that knuckle?
So they don't limit it to just the shared.
Yes, or could instead be off of the Hug Drive knuckle, just so that you have that option.
I'll second that. Good job.
Let me do the hard part. Can I ask you to add the development agreement, or did I miss
I made it subject to your comments and a recommendation.
Thank you.
Okay, roll.
Vogel?
Yes.
Bowersox?
Yes.
Sires?
Yes.
Hill?
Yes.
Dietz?
Yes.
Triplett? Yes. Pinkins?
Yes.
Third time's charm. Thank you. Thanks for taking all the comments in.
We aren't going to address them.
Well, that one too, though, on our copy on 101 and 201, the 7 on lot 7 is left off, just so you don't hit a snag in the future somewhere. Mine just says lot on those two sheets, but not the other sheets.
Yeah, lot 7 just says lot.
101 and 201.
Gotcha.
So, no big deal, just once you get hung up on something.
We'll get that updated on the phone.
Right.
All right, Plat 2 really has minimal changes from the last time we reviewed it with you. Again, I think we kind of addressed the main change there was really with the outlot 5 being an outlot at this current time as part of the current Plat 2. The intention is to combine that with the future vacated portion of Hub Drive and the new outlot on Plat 1 we just talked about. The other change is the sidewalk. We did figure out the sidewalk along the south side there. You see there's at least one location where it will jog kind of out of the right of way from a constructability standpoint to get it down off that steep shoulder of Hug Drive. But we do feel that we have a feasible route there for all those landowners to get a sidewalk connection along the south side there.
So if someone's done some trimming out there, I assume that's the city or something in the ditch.
Oh,
It,
yeah.
it made some of your challenges much more
visible.
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe the county went and did a brush cutting along there, unbeknownst to us. It was kind of a surprise to us, but well, good timing.
Yeah.
I thought maybe Gary had something to do with that.
Yeah.
He was up the next day.
Yeah, it was right after our last meeting with the commission. So, yeah, that is, if you've been out there, it kind of shows the visibility of that. Some of those lots will be a little challenging, but Jared and I did both walk that route and feel that we will be able to get that sidewalk snake through there as the commission requested last time.
Based on the Plat 1 comments, I would ask that they show that joint ingress egress easement on the east side of Lot 6 and add a note saying that the driveway for Lot 6 is restricted to that easement. So it'll have to kind of go beyond where Hug Drive is now just to show where that alignment is.
Yeah, again, as Jared kind of indicated, that we do intend to sell Lot 6 as part of this plat. So there will have to be just some additional language added there as far as that joint access agreement, and we'll get that easement on the final plat.
Yep.
And then there will have to be an extension once the parkway is constructed.
Yeah, I just asked you to show it on the preliminary plat.
Yep.
As far as the sidewalk that is in outlot V, that small portion there, who handles snow removal for that?
Well, that will be the eventual portion of Lot 2 there.
Okay.
Yeah, because that'll be combined with Lot 2. Yeah.
Here, another area that's, oh, okay, that's Lot 6, I see it now, clear up the top. Okay,
Yeah, correct.
there's another lot there. Okay.
So again, yeah, a portion there of the vacated right away in front of Lot 6 will be given to Lot 6 once that's vacated, and they'll be responsible for that portion of the.
And they'd really have access to a sidewalk kind of at that corner where the upper right triangle is. So there's no reason to really put anything through there.
We're anticipating that the development agreement that would cover the construction of the parkway would include, not only the street paving and the utilities that would need to be extended, but also the sidewalk, the trail, and those trees. So that those would all kind of go in as part of the developer's future project. Just so you know that the home builder on Lot 6, if they build a home there, the sidewalk wouldn't go in until Hug Drive was reconstructed.
And then they'd really be, and their sidewalk is really the trail at that point.
Correct. Correct.
So if someone builds on Lot 6 before Hug Drive gets to be done, I can see some, I have to come in with almost a special plan just for that corner with Lot 2, because when Hug Drive comes out, then you got the issue, who gets what of that abandoned Hug Drive with Lot 6. And that entrance on the Hugs have to be extended over to the...
Yeah, they'll have to be, the easement will have to be extended.
Okay, so
there.
But somebody
Again, maybe
could
that's
build
part of the reason
on it
why
now.
planning is not a bad thing.
Somebody could build on it.
Yeah,
But
so
their driveway
I
will
hope
need to
that
be
they
changed and
do it with full disclosure that things could change once That's all done.
It's developed.
As Kathleen just said there, now that we're going the outlaw route, we will have to come back in front of the commission with that plat that'll deal with that right of way and it can address some of those easement issues at that point too.
So you could still sell lot 6 now, then come back later when we have those issues all part of the outlot now, whatever it is, an outlot.
If we're talking about a shared drive, you need to make sure that gets put in the right place.
Well, that's what I had them note that ingress, show the ingress and our joint access easement now and restrict the driveway to that location. And ultimately it'll wind up being reconstructed at the approach end of it.
Thank you for working out the sidewalk that way. Very much appreciated. I had a lot of confidence in you. I knew you could do that.
Additional comments, questions? Anyone in the audience have any?
So when Hug Drive is vacated, and Whitetail Parkway is constructed, do the trees along the south side of Whitetail Parkway go all the way out to the west property line of Lot 6? It's not really shown in our Plat 2 drawings, and Lot 1 is kind of...
Sure, yeah. So yes, the intent is, so we missed a few there through that. Again, once we replat that, we'll maybe be able to get those added. But yeah, the intent would be to keep that uniform all the way to the property lines there.
Okay.
Until we hit that state property with. So yeah, in the future phase there, when that is vacated, those trees can be.
Okay.
I'll attempt this.
Knock it out.
Okay, I recommend that I move that we recommend approval of preliminary plat for Whitetail Ridge Plat 2, subject to the review, comments, and recommendations in the city engineer memo dated August 16, 2017, with additional recommendations that the Lot 6 have a shared drive.
Yeah, I'd ask them to show a joint access
easement
on Lot 6.
Lot 6, and show the trees on the parkway extending to the west side of Lot 6. Does that cover it?
Yeah.
Second.
Roll?
Sires,
Yes.
Hill,
Yes.
Dietz,
Yes.
Triplett, yes, Hankins,
Yes.
Vogel,
Yes.
Bowersock,
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, folks.
Thank you very much for working with us.
Opening up new territory is always a little bit more difficult, and I think this is going to be something that we're all going to be proud of. So,
I agree.
All right, item 10, Crossroads at the Lakes. Item A, consider motion to recommend council approve preliminary plat for Crossroads at the Lakes, Plat 1.
Good evening, Erin Olendike, Civil Design Advantage. My address 3405 Southeast Crossroads Drive, Suite G, Grimes. Both Kimberly is also present in the audience to answer any questions that you might have tonight. We are here to request approval of a preliminary plat for the first phase of the Crossroads at the Lakes. This property is located kind of northeast of Bridge Road and 3rd Street. And this first phase that we're proposing includes just shy of 12 acres, includes 38 townhomes, as well as an outlot for future commercial development. All of the streets within the development would be private, and the water and sanitary would be public. The detention for this preliminary plat is located down in the park, future park area. Through here, we would be proposing to kind of firm up in this area that would hold the water back until the future southern two ponds get done, as was previously approved in the preliminary plat. So, yes, with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
So the detention pond that you're talking about is not really part of the plat that we're talking about?
It's not within the plat boundary.
Okay.
No. It would be in the future park outlot that would be.
But that's what's being referenced in the engineer's project description, paragraph 2 on the first page. Is that?
Correct.
Okay.
And they'll be providing an easement on that other property for detention purposes.
Okay.
So,
I was a little confused where that was located since it wasn't within the plat, so
yeah.
Thank you.
Gary, for the most part, there's going to be retail or commerce of some kind in front of this along the main road coming in, correct? So they'll be hidden. We basically won't see these townhouses from entry into the city. The signs.
Depending on.
Yeah, you'll see these.
Yeah, you see the one on its end there, I guess.
And with the topography there, things start to fall away pretty quick.
Well, and I sort of understand this, that it looks more like a storage facility than it looks like a townhouse. Sorry.
Park architecture.
Yeah, aesthetically. It's just, and I understand how that happens.
This, and I don't know that this was provided, but this is a picture of what was built the same product in Yankee over at Autumn Crest, kind of behind the Lutheran Church of Hope there. So this is the product that he's looking to build.
Well, the proportions are so out of whack. And they made it even worse by putting this big, gable on the front of the second garage, and it just didn't look right. And you got this little entryway hidden back there, and you got this little living room or whatever it is out front. I hadn't looked. Bedroom. And it's all set back quite a ways. And the garages are sticking out quite a ways. So when you look at this in 2 dimensions, aesthetically it's proportionally off. When you look at it in 3 dimensions, these gets worse because of the garages are sticking out about 15 feet. And, they're, 40 feet long. So it's just I don't think we really have any control over that. But I just assume they'd be hid.
One of the things, they did provide a revised submittal, I should let you know, and they took care of, there were 9 comments, and they took care of the last 3. The major outstanding comments were that the plan that they have does not have 15% brick based on our quick calculations. We asked them to demonstrate that it did. So they're a little bit short, they're short on the amount of brick on the front of the building. And then on the side of the building, particularly the side that faces South 3rd Street, they were showing a shake shingle, but that doesn't meet your brick requirement. So that would need to have 15% brick on the side, any side that faces South 3rd or a private street, the way the ordinance is written too. So there are several lots interior that need to provide that side treatment as well.
And you know what I'm talking about, Aaron, don't you? This area right here, it's so large where the one garage on the right goes clear over the garage on the left. And that just takes it makes the proportions of what I see there, more out of scale than it could be if that were looked at and scaled down, even if there were like a double peak there. And I realize you got a little problem there with the double peak because of the snow and that kind of stuff. There's ways of handling that, but it just doesn't look good to me. I don't like it. It's out of proportion, and I'd rather see something I'd rather see a different plan going in there, I guess.
Well, I know he's had a lot of success in Indeed with this product.
My comment is to drive by this whole street that I've got these townhomes. I've never had that comment from anybody in Ankeny. They sold right away. The residents love the units. There's a lot of pride and ownership in those units. So I would take you to task and disagree with you.
That's fine.
I'm not, we're trying to provide something that's somewhat affordable. I sat here in these meetings earlier, and that was brought up time and time again about how there's nothing affordable in Polk City. Well, you can't build the Taj Mahal and have it affordable, Mr. Sayers. So I'm trying to do something here that looks nice, but yet provides an affordable option for people to live in Polk City. You can't have both. You can't build the Taj Mahal and make it affordable. I'm very proud of these units in Ankeny, and I'd be glad to, have you drive by them sometime. I've never had a negative comment ever before about these townhomes.
That's fine. I appreciate your comment.
You know where the new Methodist Hospital is, and right across the street, that's out of Crest Drive.
When you say affordable, can you give us like a rough price point?
Low 200s.
So on several of the diagrams, there's kind of a depiction as to where the access is to the property across the street from the Hickory Way private street. And I just want to make sure that you can attest that that's going to line up. On a couple of the diagrams, it's not real clear that it is. And you're clearly kinking it a little bit to make it line up. I just want to make sure that.
We shot the center line on the other side.
Okay, sounds good.
Is this it looks like a townhome association then that will?
Correct, yeah. These are postage stamp lots and then everything around it, all of the open space is in and out lot maintained.
There will eventually be a homeowners association.
Correct.
Except all that.
Yeah, and it's private streets, so it'll take care of all the mowing and snow removal.
Kathleen, on the drainage, we've been worried about drainage on this whole, this entire piece of land. That's sufficient, to handle this particular one.
Yeah, it's not for
As
the,
the
not for
rest
the
of
full
it gets
development.
developed, the rest of those detention facilities will get
Right.
in place as we go
Yeah,
forward.
and Aaron can probably speak to it, because I apologize, I didn't review the detention counts myself. We had someone else in the firm that did that. But Aaron could let you know, I mean,
Yeah, I mean, eventually there'll be a series of 4 ponds on down there. And so for this first pond, all we've done is kind of we burned this up and we're using the natural channel to provide some detention.
And that'll also provide detention for that future commercial site as well.
Correct.
Okay.
We've got regional detention pretty much.
So they'll take care of this.
It's sized for all this that we see here.
Correct.
Yeah. I mean, right now that, the commercial property is shown as an outlot, it'd be replatted, but when it won't need to provide on-site detention, it will utilize the same pond.
And this plat does not include, as I'm looking at it, the 2 lots to the north, I guess it'd be north, straight north of there. Keep going further to the right,
Oh,
right
up
over
there.
there.
Yeah, no,
So
it
that'll be handled at a separate time when.
Correct.
And then the old, or the street, that's just gonna be a green space through there?
Yeah, currently we're showing that as part of the outlot to be maintained and owned by the homeowners association.
Okay. And no one else was built there by accident or anything?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
Aaron, while everybody's looking there, I think one thing we asked the staff at the last meeting to do is to try and reduce the paperwork a little bit and go to like half-size drawings on some of this stuff. And it was probably too late to get you to do that, or do that. But I think that Gary would probably agree with it. We've kind of given him the review on it to say, well, it needs to be bigger and we want it bigger like you did. Or we could do half-size. So this time we got a lot of half-size drawings. So, and I think the staff would probably want to pass that on to you too. They're so much nicer to sit up here and for us to look at.
I'll remember that moving forward.
Yeah, at home when we get them too.
Okay.
And it saves you money too.
Yeah, I'll take it.
Right?
Yeah, we're trying to figure out the sweet spot, whether we can, so that we can see it, but yet.
I know, sometimes on a small drawing, it's hard.
I'd be happy to make a motion if no one has any questions.
Questions, comments from anybody out there or further from the commission?
I'm not sure, that as long as what is being built meets the requirements, I'm not sure we have a lot to say about the
architectural.
I think for me, since I'm an architectural design person, also, I think where you're running into your issue is, for me, it looks very similar to some of the townhomes that we have on Parker, and just the same kind of flat roof, not saying it's not a nice whatever, but to me, that was one of the things that we had told that owner moving forward, is that a diversity would be nice. So I just offer you that if you go and look at those, it's very similar peaks. I realize those are 2-story, I get that, but very, very similar roof lines, and aesthetically, that's kind of where it is for me too.
So I'll go ahead make a motion that we approve the preliminary site plan for Crossroads Plat 1. And that's to recommend the council approval, subject to the city engineer's comments and recommendations. That's 9 comments and 5 recommendations in the review dated August 16th, 2017.
Does that cover the 15%?
Yeah, that was.
Yeah, that's in there.
Okay,
Looks like
I'll
it.
second that.
Roll.
Dietz.
Yes.
Triplett. No. Hankins.
Yes.
Vogel.
Yes.
Bowersox.
Yes.
Sires.
No.
Hill.
Yes.
Item B, consider motion to recommend council approve final plat for Crossroads at the Lakes Plat 1.
Yeah, I'll just start off by letting you know that they did address all of our comments with the exception of provision of legal the legal descriptions that will come with the easement documents.
Okay.
So all other review comments have been addressed. Obviously, they'll need to provide legal documents before this goes forward to council.
Questions? Comments?
I just want to think, as a point of clarification, the way we've set this up, it allows the developer to proceed forward with the construction of the underground improvements and that kind of thing. And when they get to the point that they meet the safety requirements in terms of hydrant coverage and hard surface access, then they would be able to get building permits for the individual units. So, kind of allows them to keep moving the project forward as quickly as they can.
So I'll make a motion that we recommend to council approval of the final plat for Crossroads at the Lakes, Plat 1, subject to city engineers' comments and recommendations. That's a total of, well, there's 3 major categories of comments labeled A, B, and C, and recommendations totaling 5. And so it's subject to those. And that is dated August 16th, 2017.
Roll.
Dietz.
Yes.
Triplett. No. Hankins.
Yes.
Vogel.
Yes.
Bowersox.
Yes.
Sires.
No.
Hill.
Yes.
Item 10C, consider motion to recommend council approve site plan for lots 1 through 38 and outlot Y of Crossroads at the Lakes Plat 1.
Did we get something separate on this?
The preliminary plat and site plan were put together in one.
Oh,
that's basically what it is here. I didn't even see a review on it.
Yeah, you'll notice the review says preliminary plat /site plan because of the same drawings. It's just that as a technicality, they're making you're approving them set by a separate motion, but they're really the same drawings.
Oh, okay, that was on the first one. Okay,
Yeah.
on the other one. Oh, I see, it was on the other one. Okay.
Yep.
Gotcha.
So I'll make a motion to recommend to council approval of the site plan for lots 1 through 38 and outlot Y of Crossroads at the Lakes, Plat 1, subject to city engineers' comments and recommendations dated August 16th, 2017.
Second. Roll.
Vogel.
Yes.
Bowersox.
Yes.
Sires.
No.
Hill.
Yes.
Dietz.
Yes.
Triplett. No. Hankins.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 11, Luena Savings Bank. A, consider motion to recommend council approve site plan for Luena Savings Bank. Anyone in the audience like to address?
Jim Purnell with Turnkey Associates. Address is 3015 Greyhound Drive in Waterloo. What we're planning here is that the bank is looking at moving it to the adjacent lot next door to where they're currently at. They'll be taking up the entire north and south piece of Lot 32 on Edgewater Point, Plat 2. Had a wonderful time of going through a full assortment of comments from Kathleen, but I believe we've gotten there. At this point, I know Kathleen had on her last set of reviews, or the couple issue notes, I believe both of those have been dealt with. The first one was in regards to a couple different easements. Those have been provided to Kathleen. We provided 2 easements, and then as far as the stormwater detention went, it didn't make sense to make that an easement. We made it an agreement, but she has a copy of that. I don't know if you've had a chance.
I haven't seen that. I forwarded the 2 easements to Amy Beatty for review, the city attorney, and she was waiting on that agreement.
Okay.
Comments back to you, so.
I will make sure that gets on to you if you haven't seen that yet. As far as the next item on the issues is in regards to the stormwater detention. Oh, no, wait, that was done. That was I'm sorry, the first item on the issues was the stormwater detention facility. We have put that out to bid. We have not spec'd a particular item, so we will provide all the answers and details that she is looking for once we have a winning bidder and they submit the product that they're going to be supplying. So that's just one of those things, we can't get that to her yet until we get to that point. It will be provided. We have no issues with providing that to her. It's just part of the standard bidding process.
So you probably have heard tonight, as we make motions, essentially that won't be able to go to council the way our motion is worded until she has received that and has reviewed that. Is that?
The way I set it up, just again to try to give them a little bit more time, was to allow this site plan to go to council, but that this would be a stipulation on the building permit. In other words, a building permit would not be issued until we have that in place, so that we know that detention requirements are met before that building gets started.
Okay.
The requirements are met. We have the pipe sizing, the storage amounts are all there. It's just the determination of
correct,
of the actual unit, and that's the item that we don't have that yet because that part is still being bid out.
Right.
It's a little bit of a backwards process to us. Typically, it's just make sure that this happens, and we provide the documents because. Again, it's like going in and asking for a car. Do you want a Ford? Do you want a Chevy? Do you want a Dodge? And we don't get that. And like when the government bids out for their automobile packages, they don't know what car they're going to get until they get the little bid on that. So that's the situation that we're in here.
And since we're on that subject, I hate to interrupt your presentation there, but just since we're on the subject, I hate to sound naive, but I really am. Can you explain to me how the underground detention works and what it is?
I guess I would defer to Mr. McMurphy since he designed it.
Okay, because I'm unfamiliar with them, and so I'm just
I've dealt with them in other communities. We have not had one in.
ADS is the basis of bid. That's the document that you have received. That is the basis of bid, but just like with automobile manufacturers, there's a myriad of them out there. Everybody has their system that is similar to that, but
they store the water underground instead of above.
So in tanks?
That's basically
I didn't know if it was gravel filled.
Yes.
That's your
and what Kathleen is looking for is
it's in a tank that's underground.
A structural engineer's signature on that system, but until we know what system that is, we cannot get the structural engineers.
Is it like a big empty cavern, or is it?
There's the one that they're looking at is essentially a system of 4 parallel tanks that are connected with manifolds, and there's a lot of structures that go along with that. And then there'll be an orifice that restricts the flow downstream of all those structures
Right.
and causes the flow
So
to back
then
up.
it would be collecting water from,
All their intakes and that kind of stuff will all be
building
piped
and
through
the,
that.
it would it be from the driver, from the parking lot,
Yes.
the building?
The building, yeah.
Yes,
All
yes.
all the roof drains are, collected in an underground system and piped there.
And what kind of maintenance issues are there with?
Well, that's part of the reason for the agreement. It depends on the system that they have, and again, they have a lot
If
of.
they get plugged up, you just kind of.
Well, they're usually set up,
Router them or
it
what?
flows into like the first chamber, and that's where all your debris and sediment collects, and then it'll
Yeah.
pass on to
And
the
you can
rest.
pump that
Yeah,
out.
and this
Yes.
particular one has like monitoring with it and that kind of thing. I mean, it varies, but we want to have the ability, the agreement will essentially say that if the city starts noticing that there's problems and it's coming out the intakes, that the city can require,
Sure,
contact them,
okay.
require them to maintain it. If
Yes.
they don't, then the city could hire a contractor and assess them the costs for maintenance if they
I'm
didn't maintain it.
unfamiliar with them, I just like to know how they work.
Perhaps.
Jim, where are they located
Sorry,
within
Bob.
reference to the building? Are they
It
in
would
the
be
park?
on the south side of the building in the parking lot between the building and West Bridge.
Okay, all right, thank you.
If worst comes to worst, you could actually get two of them to replace them. if worst
Yes,
comes to
yes.
They're pretty common, usually more
Yeah.
downtown areas where there is no room
Yeah.
for
So you
detention.
don't have to raise the building.
No. Yeah, if you have to replace them, you have to replace some parts of the pavement above it, but.
It's not the catacombs in Rome.
Yeah, they are used around, typically it's where the land is at a premium, because it's obviously more expensive than.
A lot of it is due to the size of the building and the size of the lot. There's plenty of room on the north side, but as we all know, water does not flow uphill once we pump it, and that's a decision that we just decided we didn't want to deal with. But yes, there's a considerable elevation change from the northeast corner of the lot towards the southwest corner at West Bridge and Tyler Street. So part of this is leveling that out, but
Jason lives in town too, if you have questions on him. He's the one that sells them, so he goes right down. So where were we?
So, going back to Mr. Hankins. So, the question to you on that is that in order to get the city council approval, I need to have a underground system bid and approved by the owner, and then have those documents turned into Kathleen prior to next Monday night.
No, prior to a building permit. Next Monday night's just site plan approval. City council doesn't approve, so we're not requiring that.
Well, going back, we had a discussion with Gary as far as the building permit. We have submitted the building plans to the city for review. Our intent was to get the building permit the day after the city council meeting. So you were not privy to some of that information. That's where my comment was based upon.
But I want to be clear.
Yes, obviously, the plans have to be approved by.
And the plans will be here and will be released at such time when the underground detention has been clarified and ready to go.
Yes, I understand that. I'm not asking for the cart before the horse. I understand the process on that. That was more after the timeline. Other questions? I know that there are some review comments that are on there. Most of those have been answered with the last set of plans that were sent in. There are a couple items on there that I don't know whether Kathleen's going to bring them up or if.
Yeah, I did review, the drawings are in your packet, didn't match the memo. We subsequently reviewed what you had in your packet so that we were looking at the same plans. And so then that's why you have the updated memo on your dais. What I've done is I kind of crossed through the ones so that you could see what the comments were that had changed. So if you've read the memo before, you kind of were up to speed.
Sorry, it was our understanding that we needed to revise the drawings based upon her last set of comments, which I believe is where the confusion came in.
Yeah, it's just.
So that's just
And that's fine, I just, yeah.
On our part, so.
And that's perfectly fine. I mean, I have no problem with you continuing to move forward and addressing comments. However, it would be helpful if I got that, not that you'll probably have that, but to get one as an email submittal so that I knew, because I could have reviewed it earlier and got the comments back to these folks earlier. But that being said, the outstanding comments that we had was the old number 3. We recommended a sidewalk be extended, from the parking lot out to West Bridge Road.
Can we address these one at a time?
Yeah.
Is that possible?
That's what we're doing. I'm explaining in my comment right now. That was our recommendation. They had responded saying that there was a 3-foot grade differential. I looked, I'm seeing a 0.95 foot in the area that I was talking about for the sidewalk, which, given the grade on the sidewalk of about 2%, you could certainly make the trail, elevate the trail and make a connection without having the need for any steps or ramps or anything that way.
And you'd only lose one parking space.
Yeah,
Not
you'd lose,
5.
right, you'd lose one parking space. Basically, you'd have it directly, our proposal would be that you'd have it directly across from the aisle between the handicap stalls.
Very close to it.
Yeah, right. So that was our first recommendation. Second recommendation, we just still had some, we didn't get a revised stormwater management plan, so the comment number 5 is not yet addressed. The old comment number 7 is now comment 3. We had recommended some street trees be added along West Bridge Road. They'd indicated that their insurance company felt that they were at security risk, but I'd looked at their site in Clive. You can kind of look I attached their site, the Clive site plan there, and there's certainly have trees, street trees along Hickman Road. So I'm not sure. To me, it seems like you can prune the trees up and not have them be a security issue, similar to their Clive site. Comment number 4 was just a note. They indicated they'd added a note, but I could not find it regarding screening floodlights for a monument sign and a flagpole with landscaping. That's just adding a note to the drawing. And if it is there, I apologize. I couldn't find it. So yeah, if you just could show me where it is, that'd be great. And then the 5th comment is just that the parking lot lights are the equivalent. They're LED lights, but they're equivalent to a 250 watt high pressure sodium fixture, which means your street lights are 150. So they're pretty darn bright. So I had requested that they add some evergreen, like pines or something, into the buffer on the north side to help buffer those property owners to the north due to the brightness on those parking lot lights.
Do you want to address those comments because they're contrary to what you were saying?
Well, I guess it depends upon where, the original request for the sidewalk was that it come off the front door. And at that point, there is about a 3-foot differential in looking at the plans. So, is it possible to put a sidewalk in if those are the actual conditions? Yes.
Well, you said 3 feet and 10 feet run. I looked at it, it's a 57-foot run. And from what I could get off of the contours that were shown here, they're not as accurate as what Snyder has. I had a 2-foot rise and 57 feet from the trail. You want to take a look here?
You can't do it that way. You have to go to the edge of the parking lot, because that would be where the sidewalk would connect with the bike trail. Otherwise, we would have to cut all the way through the entire parking lot to get to the building, and that would create a valley and a traffic impediment for not only the customers.
Across the parking lot somewhere anyway.
It can run across, but yes, if you're going from the building to the bike trail, you have a diagonal line going between those 2 points, whereas the parking lot is going to be up here. And so now you have a steeper.
Just show you what I'm
We're on
talking
the
about.
same page on what we're talking about.
I'm just talking about put it in. I did right here, and actually, as you move this way, it gets a little better. You lose a stall here, you make that connection. It's not a 3-foot differential at all. So it's just really 10 foot of pavement right there, and you lose that parking stall.
Okay. If that's what the commission wants, then we will. We can put that in. And we did not see the need for a sidewalk there. The intent behind our logic is that people do not walk to or go to a bank in most municipalities.
They might ride their bike.
Give them the option.
They might ride their bike there.
As I'm saying, in most municipalities, people do not walk to or ride the bike to a bank. Most people drive there.
Okay, well, you've agreed to do it, so we're fine.
No, that's fine. That's fine. I'm not sure on what was the second item that you had.
The second was just, we have some stormwater management plan comments that were not addressed, just because we did not receive anything revised since these.
Mark, you haven't.
Well, we're not gonna review them here, we'll just make sure.
I just, did you send something?
We're still working on them.
Okay, you are still working, okay,
Yep.
all right. The trees along West Bridge Road, we can put them in, it's just the insurance companies requested it not happen because the type of tree that's requested is a larger overstory tree. As the trunks of those increase in size and get to full maturity, they do become large enough, even with a 8-inch wide trunk, that in the evening with the darkness, that people can hide behind those and not be visible to the employees exiting the facility. For not only their personal security in the parking lot, but also the security of the bank facility itself, regardless of whether the fact that they have security cameras, robberies, and other instances do occur. And so that is the insurance request, that the trees are kept to a minimum.
Gary, do you have that from the insurance company in writing?
Oh, I do not. And I guess what I would do is I would ask, is it the same insurance company that is in Clive, Iowa, that insures the Luana Savings Bank there?
Quite possibly.
Because apparently it's allowed there, so I'm just curious.
There are trees there.
The trees in Clive are, like little 6-8 footers.
Yes, whereas you're asking for
Nothing significant.
50-foot coverage in trees, so.
But I think we're trying to talk about what the tree is when it's planted and what it's going to be when it grows, 50, 60 years from now. I guess I'm kind of confused because were you going to plant large trees? Or were you thinking that they were going to grow?
They will grow. But
Good point.
the intent of Kathleen and Snyder is that we have been showing all along these sides of the trees at full maturity.
No, those were the ones on the buffer, because there's a buffer requirement that you show them at full maturity to demonstrate that you meet the code with only 10-foot separation. That
Okay.
comment doesn't apply here.
That's just to the north side.
Yeah, the north side, yeah, just to show that you fulfill the type B buffer requirements.
The last one, the parking lot lights, we can install plants of some taller pine trees along the north edge of the property.
Well, if you go back here, on the trees out front, I think we need some kind of documentation on this. And I think we need to find a tree that would be acceptable to everybody.
Yeah, I'm not trying to, I wasn't intending to even suggest what particular species.
Yeah. And
What went in across the street there?
so I guess
On, I would have to check.
Okay.
Erin's already left, she would know. I get to, but all of those recent site plans, we've been getting trees. The original Luana does not have trees there, and that was kind of impetus for saying, no, we're gonna be requiring street trees on commercial development. So I've been that's been a comment on pretty much any commercial development that comes along. So
Jim, I'm trying to help you here.
No, I understand.
Instead of getting a no vote out of this, are you agreeable to providing some documentation from the insurance company of what they'd like to see there and why? And we can also find some kind of a tree that will work there?
Yes, I can do that.
Yeah. And so we can let we can keep that in part of our recommendations, and we can let Snyder, the city staff, work with you on that.
Sure, that would be great.
Yeah, so you're just not flat out saying no is what I'm trying to.
No, I
Okay.
It's one of these things where we would love to work with you just as long as it's.
That's what we're asking. Okay, thanks.
On the sheet number 20, you have a note designated containment area for petroleum products and other liquid pollutants. Does the bank have those?
No, that would be on the plan in regards to during construction of the project.
Oh, okay, that's for the
That would be for gasoline
During
storage for the construction equipment, that type of a situation. No, the bank does not sell fuel or oil, although maybe they have stock in some, but that's out of my purview.
So I was drafting last week and got an email, I thought with a comment about this, and I was unable to open it from my phone. What was the comment? I think it was from a neighbor or something.
There was an email.
Yes, please.
Thank you. We better take a break, about 7 pages.
There's an email that, or actually a communication that the city received Friday in regards to this. If you will recall, behind Lorena Bank is a currently vacant property. And it is served by an access road that comes not only off of Bridge Road, but also off of Tyler, that needs to work its way through the property that's in front of you today onto his property. Now, the author of that letter is here tonight and would like to have the opportunity to address his concerns.
Perfect. Should we do that? Would you like a chance to speak?
Jim, thanks for your help in working with us to
No problem.
get to
Thank
where
you.
we needed to be.
Bruce Boland, 3818 Northwest 92nd Place, Polk City. I bought what is known as the Diddy property, which is behind the Lorena Bank, the original Lorena Bank. I don't know why Diddy's property didn't sell for 5 or 6 years. I think it wasn't marketed right because it has a lot of attributes, but it's been a lot more valuable than I think people believed. And when I bought it, I could see that I could have access both to a very busy street and another one not so busy street. And when I was called down at the Lake of the Ozarks here about 4 weeks ago from a Luena officer, he indicated that it is in my best interest to move the street that goes east and west across the property to the north. That means then the buildings that I want to build, which I have 3 different restaurants we're working on, a dry cleaner, and a museum. And if we move the street to the north, if you can see that on your layout there, if we move it to the north, it would be putting the street on behind the buildings. And I want the street in front of the buildings. Buildings that are going to be used need to face Broadway. And the plan that I saw, when I saw it from the lake, it was in my best interest, according to them. When I got back here, I know what I bought. I called my attorney and I said, am I reading something into this? There's something that's not right. It's taken the extreme value of the connectivity to what is perceived as an isolated lot. It was close, I'm in a little trouble. Isolated lot, and it's isolating it even more by making the street to Tyler an alley as opposed to a street. And so the access to that lot that land back there is extremely valuable to me, and for a number of reasons. When Bill builds out his project across from Casey's, you're going to have so much traffic on Broadway eventually. That's very good for the value of my lot for the end to come in. But if I want volume to come in, I want it to be able to get out on Tyler. Can you see that on the layout? Well, the plan that we have now shows it going through the Tyler through a parking lot. And it's got to go around some things in the parking lot on top of it. And that doesn't look like circulation. It looks like we're using their parking lot as a street. And so I asked him to come out and talk to me. He did. And we sat and talked for a few minutes. And I thought he was going to get back to me so we could work this thing out, but we didn't have a problem. That hasn't happened. So all I really want is the street access from Broadway and take a left turn and go west to Tyler. Kind of simple. Did I explain that well enough?
Yes, you're asking just for the east-west access to
Yeah.
go straight through.
Yeah.
The other, the north-south access, is that?
It's already there.
It's already there.
Yeah, well, part of it is.
Okay.
When you come out, Lumina Bank, when you enter that is the street.
Okay.
And then when you go in to use the cash machine, if you want to turn around, you have to turn around and go right back out onto that. But that is the city street.
So this is what you're talking about here. You can't go straight through.
I can't really see that.
Well,
Yeah.
that's the cul-de-sac up there.
No,
that's
the Clive location.
I don't know.
Oh, that's from Clive.
Yeah.
I think I was
Okay.
talking about cutting across.
Okay.
Here,
My
up
street,
here.
I go.
Yeah, if you look at it, I apologize, all we have is,
I got you. So that's not a problem, the north-south one.
No, the north-south is.
That can be extended.
Yeah, right.
Who's supposed to extend that?
Bank. It's in the agreement.
Okay.
Now, and when Diddy sold his bank to Luena, those two negotiated the deal. And the deal requires that the Luena Bank not only install the streets, but they maintain them. And so, if his proposal to take the street further north, take a left and go to Tyler in the back of my lot, it'll take a couple thousand feet out and destroy a corner lot.
Yeah, I think I understood that. I just want to clarify who and when does the north-south access street get extended? Now?
When they build. The minute they build is a trigger.
So it should have been done before,
Should have been. but
when
there
they
was
built
any
when they built the first bank. Is
I
that
think
what
that's
you're
true.
saying?
Marcus, is that true? I brought Marcus Abel as my attorney. He's the one that reviewed this before we bought it the first time.
Because I think there's two issues here. There's the east-west one.
Yep.
And then, as long as, if this goes through like this and it's changed, then
North and
shouldn't we
south
also be doing the
north and south
north-south
is
one?
easy, yes.
If it was supposed to have been.
Yeah, but it's a very short.
Mark Abels, I'm an attorney at 400 Locust, Suite 400, Capitol Square, Simpson Johnson Abels firm. Bruce, can I use this for?
Sure.
I think maybe some of the comments Bruce has made would be better illustrated by this conceptual drawing.
I did that about a year ago.
Try and hold that up so we can all kind of see.
Sure, absolutely. Let's see if I can do that here. So,
Can you make copies, Becky?
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Can we just take a minute and have Becky make a copy for us? She can do it real fast.
what this conceptual drawing will show is what Bruce had in mind for development of his parcel. And it'll show what the effect is of actually extending the north-south road all the way to the north and then going to the west, and how, it would really take out a lot of his lot to do that. So just to step back for a moment while the copies are being made, the basis for what Bruce is asking for tonight was a 2005 agreement. And there were three parties to the agreement. There was the city, was actually a party to the 2005 agreement, as well as Mr. Diddy in his individual capacity owning the lot that Bruce now owns. And then his bank, First State Bank, was the third party to this agreement. And what the three parties agreed, and I think it's kind of unusual for the city to actually be a party to this kind of an agreement. I think it speaks somewhat to the fact that the city had in mind how this property would be developed and supported this agreement, and that's why they were a party. But in the agreement, there'd have to be a north-south road. That's essentially the road that's in, except for the little portion of the north-south road that would actually be part of the east-west road. That's what's left to be built if you want to consider it part of the north-south roads. And it would actually extend out both to the east and to the west. So if it went to the west, it would go to Tyler. If it went to the east, presumably it would go out to Third or could circle back to Bridge.
Then Elwell built Paul and Elwell built the child care center. It's right in the way.
So,
and obviously it's going to be dead end. There's no place to go.
So initially, this is oriented now when you get your copies, this would be north.
My fingers were.
So this north-south road is in place basically, except for the portion that goes
Can you
east
hold
and
up
west.
just a second till everybody gets a copy, please?
Yeah, sure.
Thank you. Well, that's okay.
All right, so if you orient it with the larger building and the tree line here at the top, you'll have it to the north. And then this is the north-south street and east-west street. Initially, the agreement from 2005 contemplated that the street access would go out to the east, but the way those properties to the east developed, that's not a possibility anymore.
That building was there long
Yeah.
before 2005. I mean, I moved here in 2004, and that building was there for a decade before that.
When I was looking at the assessor's records for building, it seemed to me like the buildings that were developed to the east went in like 2006 or 7. So
The building that is now childcare was a boat sales facility.
Yeah, right.
It's been there for 25 years.
Okay.
So
Well,
I mean, that predates that concept.
perhaps the idea in 2005 was that this wouldn't go directly out to the main road. It would go into some other access road that would then, but at this point, because of the way the parking lots and so forth are configured, I don't think that it makes sense to extend this. It would go into kind of the back of somebody's property if you look at it on the assessor record. So whatever opportunity for access in that direction there might have been in 2005, the agreement itself actually makes it sound like they expect there's that possibility, and that when this property over here develops to the east, that the bank was obligated to put in a piece of this road so that this road would connect up with this road. That never happened, so there's nothing there now. But the other thing the 2005 agreement did was it said this access road would continue to the west and presumably would go to Tyler. What Bruce is really objecting to is that with the plan that you have before you tonight, the site plan, the road doesn't go directly west to Tyler. It circles around the parking lot. And in the letter Bruce delivered, there's 3 problems that he's identified with that.
You each have a copy of the letter.
Well, yeah, we have one floating here.
Yeah. One of the issues is that that it doesn't provide very good secondary access for emergency vehicles or for delivery trucks, for that matter. Another issue is that it doesn't provide a sense of access, of being an access road. If somebody's on Tyler, looking from Tyler toward this property, you'd think you're just driving into a bank parking lot. You don't have a straight shot to the east-west access road here, which, it doesn't seem like that's a reasonable expectation back in 2005 when this agreement was entered into. And now that Luana Bank owns both this property, which is the property involved in the 2005 agreement, as well as the property under development, they're in absolute control of how this road goes in. And it's going to have a major impact on Bruce's property. I guess the other thing I want to go back to is what Bruce was talking about with the suggestion from Luana Bank that this north-south road be extended all the way to the north there and come over, and that way could have a straighter shot over to Tyler. Well, the problem with that is if you extend that road, obviously that takes out this area of the property for development purposes. And this is all residential property. Up here, there was discussion about buffering. So you're going to have a road that goes along here. I assume that would have to be lighted in some fashion. So now those LED light issues are, I think, brought closer, actually to the residential properties if that was done. So,
And also the three lights that are running along the east and west of the current bank is on our property. And so if the street were to be put in, we can take advantage of the lights that are there because they're ours.
So if I'm hearing what you're asking correctly, you're asking for the bank to not build one large building on their property, but to essentially subdivide it so that they can run a road through where their building is proposed being built.
Or use the current land that their current bank is on, make an L-shaped building.
So you're asking for their building that they're proposing to not be built there so that you could have an access road.
We want them to build a bank. We're not trying to undermine the
That's
bank.
what I'm
All you
hearing
need to
them
do
say.
is move the bank back 12 feet to the north.
They're getting close to right.
You don't have to do an L-shaped building, you don't have to redo the building. You just need to move it 12 feet back.
It's north.
Here, come here.
The other street, north and south.
You're gonna move it 12 feet north and.
So they want just like this straight road through.
Well, this is the access road to Tyler, right here, okay? So, instead of coming around and doing this, they want to continue this on from this access road and bring it straight out here. So, this discussion here is talking about the east-west access road. So if you move the building back here, you have room back here, because they've still got plenty of room to do all this.
Well, I thought it's access.
Yeah, I'm disagreeing as far as what we're talking about.
You think he's talking about this access?
He's talking about an
right here?
access road right here.
So he's not talking about this one
But
here?
we would not let them put an access road that
Because it's too close?
Yeah.
So he wants this road to cut through the building.
That would put it too close.
And this has, yeah, well, that has to stay there.
Right, I'm just saying, it's too close from Sudar.
All right, I'm ready now.
Yeah, so he wants this building to not be here so that he can have a road straight across.
Okay, I'm with you. I thought it was this access road here. I wish it was. Thanks.
All right.
Sheet 2 shows.
Sheet 2 under the proposed construction plans, I think the part of your shows the entire layout here as it is being proposed.
You can kind of see it right there.
I do have a question about the agreement. The current parties are not the original parties, but they stepped into the shoes
This,
of those.
the Luana Bank parcel, where the bank is, was never included in that, or that agreement that they were talking about.
At the time, it was owned by Stanborough.
Yeah.
The new parcel you're talking about?
Yeah, where the new bank is, was not part of the agreement at all.
So, the question is, like,
The new bank building?
Right.
The one that's being proposed.
Yeah, it was not part, it's not a piece of the property. Diddy didn't own that, Dan Stambro owned that at the
You're talking
time.
about the land.
Yeah, the land,
Same parties own it, that's right, yeah.
Yeah, but they were not, the same parties didn't own the land that's that the site plan covers as owned the Diddy parcel.
That's what you address.
Yeah, I'm just clarifying that the parcel we're looking at now is not included within the scope of that agreement. It was not covered by that agreement.
Just to expand on that a little bit, Luana Bank acquired First State Bank, so they were a party to the original lot, your agreement with that.
Yeah,
this agreement runs with the land, so.
And then Luana Bank, of course, bought at sheriff's sale the Stamborough parcel, presumably because they wanted to get the property adjacent to their existing lot. And I would agree with what she said, that they were, the Stamborough lot was not a party to the original 2005 agreement, but Luana Bank, as successor in interest to First State Bank, was a party to the agreement, and from the standpoint of the original 2005 agreement, the idea was to get an access road, not to get just
But I don't know how
access
you
to a parking.
If the owner of the lot that the bank wants to build on now,
Proposed lot.
wasn't, if that owner wasn't part of that agreement, I don't know how that would be drawn into this current agreement.
Well, I think the position would be that when the agreement was done in 2005, the bank agreed it would put in an access road, and just based on common sense, or if you want to talk about a legal principle, good faith and fair dealing, which is impressed with every contract, that access road had to go somewhere, right? People had a vision that this was going to be an access road, not just to provide access to this parcel that Bruce now owns, but access to the public streets. That's what an access road does. Now, again,
We
Bruce
have
mentioned-
agreements like this all over our city where people are cutting through other people's parking lots so that we can minimize access to our major streets. That's what we call access, is cutting through other people's parking lots so that we can have fewer access points onto Broadway and Bridge Road, and so that we can have access points to streets like Tyler and Parker further back from the major arterials. Cutting through parking lots as part of that access is my understanding as far as what we've been doing for the last 14 years I've been on this commission. And I was here when we contemplated what was going on the east. I don't know what the agreement says, but when we contemplated what was going on the east side of the current bank building, and when we talked about access to the east, as I thought about it in the meeting, we were talking about these streets up front.
Correct.
Anything further back, we did not deal with. Also, as I look at what we're charged with tonight, we're charged with taking a look at the proposal that's in front of us and acting on that, hearing from folks in the audience, and then acting on the proposal that's in front of us. Generally, we give folks 3 minutes. We gave you folks longer tonight. But I think we need to get back on task and talk about what's in front of us, which is the bank proposal. And if indeed we choose to pass it or deny it, that's will happen. If we, in either case, I would recommend that city staff needs to work with our council to make sure that our involvement in this agreement that we will have nothing to do with, doesn't conflict with anything prior to it going to council. I mean, that's what I see that our task is.
Well, the objective of the Tyler access is to relieve the traffic coming in.
Our job tonight is to look at this bank's proposal.
Did you have something you wanted to add? I know you sat back there and waited.
Yes. If you go on to the state website and look at easements, you will see that the proposed bank location is in a wholly separate plat from the plat which is next door where the existing bank and the original Diddy property was. There is no and never has been any recorded easement on lot 33 of plat 2. Now, that being said, Kathleen and I have had a long conversation about this. In 2004, there was a city recommendation that approved a citywide notion that in a scenario like this, access would be provided across the property, but there was never a specific location called out because there is no easement that was ever granted on that lot 33 where the proposed bank is going. And as Kathleen pointed out to you, for city ordinance and SUDIS requirements, the first access into the bank off of Tyler Street has to be where it's at for multiple reasons. It has to be across from the other one. And then the north access has to be at least 150 feet away, so we can't go straight across regardless. It can't happen per your city ordinances.
Correct.
So-
We have limits as
Yes,
to where the
yes.
access can
Yep.
be on Tyler
And
that we
so-
have put on you.
And so what we've proposed in the easement, which is one of the two easements that Kathleen has received, is a blanket access easement. That at the point at which their access on the old Diddy property lines up to lot 33, which is the new location for the bank, we will get them from there to Tyler Street. And one of the civil engineering drawings also showed the turning radius is required for the fire trucks, which Kathleen required us to include. So fire access and emergency access has been accounted for moving through the entire site.
Yeah, I think you're right. This is one that is probably outside of our jurisdiction. I mean, to tackle some of this, I don't.
I would say we could have it on the agenda for some future meeting, but I don't, it's not our task.
No.
That's not what we get involved in this
Right.
commission.
Does this, what we're looking at, meet?
This is staff and legal's concern, and I think staff has moved us this direction. But, I agree that what I think these folks are saying, if they want direct access to Tyler going straight across, the city will not allow that to happen, to access at that point. We are limiting these folks as to access points across, so that they line up with what's across the street currently, and will not allow it elsewhere. We will not allow it elsewhere. I mean, that is a decision, that ship has sailed. But in any case, I don't see that this is our task to sort out.
No, I don't think it is either. I would agree with you on that. I don't like the way it flows through the parking lot like that, but again, it's kind of what's been set up and set before us, I think, by previous.
And works with the two access points that we've allowed this property to have on Tyler.
Ron, when you did this many years ago, whatever years it was, what was what was your thinking on the east end of the easement? If those buildings were there, why was the easement even approved?
I have never done anything on the property that you own. We only did it with the bank building portion. I believe there could have, if it was with your building, or your property, it was an outlot. The plat at that time, we only dealt with the southern portion of that, and we were concerned about having continuous access through parking lots across the southern end of what is now the bank building, coming over to where they're proposing having the new bank building being, and then going over across where the physical therapy building is. That was our concern, was having that continuous access between those properties to limit essentially turning it into a frontage road, to limit access points to Bridge Road.
Yeah, at that point, it was First State Bank, Iowa, or First State Bank, Iowa, or something very, very close to that. Excuse me if I quite got that wrong, but it was required to plat at that time because they had done one lot split realistically without city approval, and then what they wanted to sell for the bank was different, so they wound up having to combine the parcels together and plat it in so that it is a two-lot plat, one that's got the bank, and then the second one that's the vacant L-shaped piece around. The plat did, showed setbacks, and it also did show the ingress-egress easement within the realm of plat 3, which is those two lots only. It didn't show any kind of, and so then obviously you have a point of connection on their shared property line, but it didn't go west onto the adjacent lot.
Was it as an outlot on the cell shop?
No, it was lot 1 and lot 2.
Okay.
I can't remember. I think the bank was lot 1, but don't hold me to that. But
if the adjoining property owners on either side were not part of this agreement, I'm not sure how it could extend beyond that. Those tracks.
So I'm isolated to the west. Well, I'm not in dead end and because we're gonna have a go-through parking lot. Isn't that what this boils down to?
The way it's set up on this site plan.
Yeah, except for the north-south access, I guess. Kathleen, I have a question about, now that Ron straightened me out on exactly where this is, and I appreciate that. Thank you. The final plat shows the north-south access road going through here, on top here, in the kind of the orange.
You have to go where?
The east-west. Is that what you're
Well,
talking
it just shows it being developed.
Uh-huh.
Right now, when the bank's built, it'll go into the bank.
Correct.
Okay. And there's a short little distance there also that isn't on north-south, that isn't developed.
Right.
So my question is, can we require that this be done now by the bank? So we don't come back and go back through all this, or not? Or is this
I
a
don't know
legal
if
thing?
this-
That's only a trigger, and I have to go back and, or that's a good question, I have to go back and take a look at that trigger, but I think the trigger is, and sits with Bruce Bowen as the property owner.
Yeah.
Okay,
So when a building would go on that lot 2 would be the trigger.
okay.
Now, we had, the difference was, there was a trigger, a separate trigger for that east-west that was based on when, at that point, it was Kester's building. They went in here, so they did have to put that piece in, but that was a separate trigger, if you will.
Okay. So that's
And that's it.
really, in essence, no, we
Yes,
can
that's
at this point, not until it's, because we have a site plan to develop it. So then how do you go back, other than through the courts, to make them do it?
It's a good question, I've never run into one of these before.
Now, they could just refuse to do it. Now, hold Bruce up forever.
No, won't hold me up forever.
That's not our intention.
I understand that.
Yeah.
Now, I understand it's not your intention, but it's a possibility of things. So I always have to kind of look at, developers come in here and say, I'm going to do all this, and then they turn around a few years later and sell it to somebody else, and then somebody else comes in and they say, well, I never agreed to that, and we appreciate what you're saying. So I'm just kind of looking down the road to try and see if something could get resolved to trigger this now, and I think it's a legal question. It isn't something
And
that
that's one
we
of the
can
first
answer
things
right
that
now.
we're going to do tomorrow is talk to our city attorney, provide her with this information. I think the information that's contained on sheet 2 for the construction plan probably is the best talking diagram that we have that explains all of the interaction here.
Yeah, but wouldn't the trigger be who the agreements are between and not a third party?
Well, and I seriously question why Polk City is part of that agreement, outside of the fact that it was part of our requirements that something be worked out so you didn't have a lot that was landlocked.
That's what that is almost.
And that's the only reason that I can think of that the city was part of this agreement.
Yeah, I think the intention was that the city would have been part of the agreement just for the ingress egress, to make sure that
It's coordinated.
was coordinated, but not for the actual construction of improvements.
Which still would happen anyway if it wasn't named,
Mhm.
I guess because this kind of cuts those Bruce's lots off, I'd like to know if that's the trigger that we can have the bank go ahead and do this now with the development of this site plan. And maybe I'm sure they'd have to talk it over and think about it, but maybe they'd agree to do that, and maybe not. That's up to them. But if they agreed to do that, we can kind of move some of this through.
If it would develop differently and somebody didn't want that in there, at that point.
Some of these come from here. But part of it too, though, is that when the existing bank went in, water and sewer were stubbed up through also easements on the north-south drive. So I don't know who would be responsible for extending those utilities, but you wouldn't want to pave over the end of them, making it difficult to make that connection. So you'd want to, it would take more than just putting down some pavement there. You'd have to look at that. There was storm sewer that was put in, so there's a number of things that would have to be looked at too.
You have a quick comment?
Yes, I'm not a lawyer, I'm an architect. I have read the easement document, and I'm not going to tell you exactly how it was meant to be interpreted. The easement document requires that essentially at the point at which the property owner wants the pavement to be installed, that the bank needs to do it. It's merely a request scenario. And it's the pavement only, it's not the utilities. Also, the easement is an area which can be paved, not an area that has to be paved. It does not read that the entire easement area has to be paved. If Bruce only wants, let's say, 10,000 square feet out of 12,000 square feet paved, that would be required to satisfy the easement. The easement is just an area that can be paved, it has to be set aside to be paved if it's so desired to be paved.
Okay.
But again, I'm coming at this from as an architect, not as a lawyer.
Right.
But I have read the document.
I think, yeah, if we circle back, probably our motion is, do we look at and approve the site plan, have issues with that? Act on that one way or the other, so the rest of it'll play out how it does, I guess. I mean,
But I'd like a legal opinion of what's going on here. I don't think we ought to be just approving everything, and when you have questions up in the air, that. And I'm talking about city legal opinion. I know we have a couple attorneys in the room right now. I don't know if Bruce and the bank have got together on what he wants done when, if he wants it done now or not anyway, so, that, and like you said, that's up to them, I think, from what Jim has said anyway, so.
Definitely communication between the two would be helpful.
We had that one.
Well, I'm the one that met with.
First time I was told.
Bruce.
Pardon me?
Yeah, I was just saying, I'm the one that met with Bruce, so we're the ones that been communicating. So.
But essentially what you are proposing now would include all of the curvature for that access point up there?
We would provide the pavement and the radiuses to meet the city codes to the property line, at which point Bruce has the ability through the bank to tie into that if he so desires.
Okay.
We are not trying to impede that.
could you widen that top ring out to make it two-way traffic? That would at least make it flow better, I guess, in my mind, but.
We can, we're talking about losing parking spots. And the intention why we're trying to keep as many parking spots as possible is due to the community center there. It's something where, if one person drives one car and they park in that parking lot, I think currently there's just shy of 80 parking spaces. The community room is set up to handle just shy of 200 people seated at tables. So the more parking spots we remove, the greater we inhibit the usability of the community center.
Jim, you have space on the north side of that access area up there, the north side of your lot. You have space to put parking on both sides and make it two-way.
That's a buffer, 30-foot buffer.
There's a what?
30-foot buffer.
Oh, there is?
Between there and the residences.
Yep.
So he's right at that.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, yeah. I think a two-way, I never saw that before now until you mentioned that, but having that only be one way is very limiting to Bruce.
Well, it's just because of the congestion, and there's gonna be,
Gonna have to, yeah, I mean, they can still get through there.
you can.
You can still get through there. The natural thing is to, but getting to that is difficult. The way it's,
It's one way against the flow.
yeah,
It
it's.
sacrifices quite a few parking spots.
6.
Yes. Which is potentially anywhere from 6 to 30 people or more.
Well, the back door to the land, and it's still, you gotta go around the parking lot to get into that land. Why is that a good idea?
Yeah, I don't like the, I mean, if that's the
I
access
mean-
point, I don't like the one-way path through there.
Yeah. The, open up the parking lot so it's a street all the way through it. Get the planters out of the way. He loses parking, use the street. Oh, excuse me, fire trucks can't get through there.
They can get through there, actually.
Bear in mind, we are providing a street that is 24-foot wide and well-handled fire trucks. We do have one. Now, we talked a bit ago about what's a good idea and what's not, you know. People nowadays think that roundabouts are good ideas because they want to break up traffic flow. So here we've got a situation where we've got a nice break up in the traffic flow, instead of just a clean shot through there. And, you know, we're talking about the pros and cons of that.
Well, I think it's a little bit different anyway. I mean, it's not a straight freeway through there. I mean, you've got turns that are gonna slow people down. You've got some of those things going down, and really in a parking lot, I guess, reducing the confusion and the congestion, I would be a fan of. I'm not a fan of circulating them through.
If
Parking
there
lots
were going to be several hundred people a day going to the neighboring property, or
And there might
even
be.
100 people, I don't think there's going to be that. It might be a different situation.
If it's restaurants, they're high turnover.
And you're gonna see a lot of it on that corner, just on Broadway. And coming across Casey's, out to Bill Kimberly and stuff. There's gonna be a lot of volume. And I'm hoping to take advantage of that volume.
Well, yeah, I think the question we need to answer is, do we want to act tonight and make sure that legal reviews it prior to any further action being taken, or get some legal opinions prior to taking any action? I think.
And that's what we're supposed to be doing before it ever goes to city council.
Yeah, I would rather
Good
do
job.
legal
Yeah.
review prior to that point so that we don't send something forward that.
That's what I-
So that's, as I look at it, that's our decision.
One last comment here, or at least an attempt at a last comment. Is it possible that we can request that the commission would approve the plan as shown pending the legal review? Because otherwise it's pushing us out a month. And if the legal review takes 2 weeks, that's fine, because the city meets twice a month as opposed to the fact that you guys only meet once a month. And that way, if the legal review takes longer than next week, we aren't pushed out an entire 30 or 31 days.
We can't hold a special meeting if you're at, I don't know how that works. At your expense, I guess we can have a special meeting.
I'd probably tell you no, because everybody up here has already said we think we need a legal review before we
I'm not
do
telling you
anything.
not to do a legal
Yeah,
review.
and we're not,
Well, yeah, I'm disagreement. When I read through it, I'm concerned about the city's responsibility in signing in on this thing, what their obligation is.
Well, or is there? Because this piece of property isn't part of that agreement.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. But when you're talking about access,
So is there no binding right for access across it?
city.
That's a legal argument. I'm not an architect, but I'm pretty good at making legal arguments. I don't think you want to hear any more of them tonight.
Yes, sir.
I've been biting my tongue for a long time here. Ron Anderson, council liaison. I don't think this is an issue to be decided here.
I would agree.
I think it's bigger than that. Attorneys are already involved. I know if it was a council meeting, I would say move on. I'd like to see, what I would like to see happen is all three parties sit down with or without legal representation, try to come to that magic word, compromise, which I don't know if can happen at this point or not, so we can move on.
Compromise is always a good thing. There's no question about
Thank
that.
you. Thank you.
And there's no question that bank would be beautiful sitting there. I don't disagree with that. And it's very good for the city, and I'm very much for that. It's a matter of what do we do to get beyond straight streets, or get something through there that people see it as an access to it, not a back road.
I would like to know the city attorney opinion on this agreement and what its requirements are for the city.
That'd be something we're gonna do tomorrow. And one thing I will suggest here is that the road that is on the north side of the bank, it's two-way. Currently it's 24. If you were to angle that parking and make it a one-way, then go to the north where now that, and move everything down your 8 feet, now you would have your two-way traffic pretty much getting you a straight with your 2 turns instead of 4 turns coming in. Yes, you're going to lose some parking, but I think there's an abundance of parking on
the site,
on this anyway. And that may be your compromise.
As long as the council agrees to go below their minimum requirements for parking spaces.
Are they right at it, Kathleen?
No, they're in excess at this
We
point.
are
I can't.
currently in excess, but I believe the minimum requirement is either 74 or 76, based upon square footage of the building. And I think we're at 80 or 82.
I'd have to count. The note says that 74 are required and 75 is provided, but my recollection was that they had more than that.
Seems like there's a lot, but I don't
Yeah.
think community space on the side.
So should we decide to want to not take action and do a further legal review before taking action, do we need to table this? Do we maybe make a motion directing you that we would like you to investigate this further?
Choice 2.
Pardon?
Choice 2.
Choice 2.
I'd also like to recommend that the 3 parties sit down, as Gary suggested, and see if we can work out something that works for everybody. And I think Bruce probably realized that they're probably not going to put a straight road through there like you'd like. Doesn't work for them. That's something you guys have to agree on.
Well, I thought it when I bought it.
I mean, you can't put a straight road through there anyway, so when we already met and sat down and talked, the proposal was for him to have a straight road as you push it to the north.
So you've already
It's the
done
same building.
right up
set up
against
the
the
lines, you just gotta.
But again, that's, your guys' compromise, I mean. I see
Well,
that
one
on
has
the
to compromise one way. It's either where you cut a road through there and you start cutting down everything on our side, or you do it different to his side. So it's, what are you gonna do?
Can you make it work? I guess we're asking, can you make it work for yourselves and
That's what we're trying.
be a little
That's what we're trying to do.
more helpful for Bruce?
We would rather have a straight road access through there. to the north.
Well, we
But you don't have a straight road right behind
turn
where
down
you
and
live.
then
All right.
because
I think we've kind of exhausted this one.
You want us to keep this stuff, Becky, or on this project, or give it all back to you to make a motion? You reissue it?
It might look different.
That's a good question. Gary, do you have been
That's true.
to the
Yeah, it'll look
plans
different.
they have now?
It might look.
Yes, let me ask you a question. We're sitting here, we're trying to work a compromise out amongst ourselves without including anybody else, I guess. Would P&Z be amenable to moving the north entrance down and waiving a SUDAS requirement? So you keep your two-way traffic there, but you would allow the entrance on to Tyler be moved down, and I don't know the number of feet, but it would basically 16, 7, 15, 1, 31, 8, 35, about 36 feet further south.
And then leaving the other entrance in too?
And then you have your south one, but the north entrance, you get moved down 36 feet.
You'd be bending that 100-foot clearance between the driveways, but then
So Gary,
the driveway would line straight up.
Yeah,
going
let me,
straight right there.
yeah, go straight
Yeah.
through there.
So you just have one curve to
Exactly.
access it.
So what's going on the west side of Tyler there?
Yeah.
So instead of having it here and
What
going
they
around,
showed, the site plan that they showed preliminarily for the north building, north of the Remax building, has no additional entrances on that at all. They just have one entrance,
Okay.
based on their current site plan, which the south line lines up with. So there's not like another one on their north side that we'd have to worry about as well.
Okay, currently.
Currently, if they came back, we'd probably, you'd probably have to make that same concession then to have their north driveway line up with what we're talking about here. But at this point, they don't have.
Sounds like, a helpful idea.
Can I piggyback off of that? Preston Moon Center Associates, Kathleen might have to back me up on this, but I believe we looked into shifting that to the south and that it didn't surpass SUDAS requirements. That was a recommendation that we provided to Abakai. And I believe it was turned down to go to the north, to move the access north and to where it is right now. So I believe Bruce has requirements that can be shifted south, but I think we need to look into that a little further.
Yeah, I don't remember what they're off the top of my head either anymore, the separation requirements.
I think it might be, I think it might be 100 foot. I think they might be in excess of it.
I believe we recommended that at one point.
Yeah. Well, we had recommended this, what you had suggested, just with having this be the 24-foot island.
Yeah.
We made that
I think that was
recommendation
just
at
a
one
little
point
better,
too.
but.
In getting back to Doug's idea, I think that's still where we are, is we need to get the parties together before, we take further action. So I guess I would make a recommendation that Planning and Zoning Commission recommends to city staff to work with Polk City Council and with the parties that are currently in place for the agreement for access to the property north of the current bank building, for access to that property, not related to this property, but to get together and look for options for resolving any access issues, and then reporting back to us, hopefully with a solution.
Second.
I'm sorry. Thank you.
Is that a motion or
That was a motion. That was a.
I heard him say motion. He said recommendation, but I second the recommendation.
I'm sorry, yeah, this is a motion.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a motion.
We've got a second, so let's roll it then.
Sires,
Oh, yeah.
Hill,
Yes.
second Deeds,
Yes.
Triplett, Hankins,
Yes.
Vogel,
Yes.
Bowersox.
Yes.
I have one more question. In the interest of time, if you have a meeting and we get some solid ground, is anybody opposed to having a special meeting as to waiting a whole month?
Not at all.
No.
We get part of that $500, right?
You what?
We get part of that $500.
I would guarantee you like 200% more than what you're getting now.
Thank you. Such a deal.
All right. If I can find my agenda up here somewhere. Item 12, council liaison report.
Nothing. And if I'd have had anything, I'd have forgot.
13, staff report.
Nothing at this time. I think I reported that we met traffic signal warrants on Bridge and Third Street. We are actually pursuing U-step and traffic safety signal counts. So, stay tuned.
So it's all been approved?
We have the ability to put a traffic signal in.
You've got permission.
So
Out here?
Third and Bridge.
Okay.
Now that we got permission from them, now we want money from them.
And when are the other signals going to go in? School starts?
They, as soon as they can get on site, we will have those in. I doubt if it's going to be before school, but I'm hopeful that it'll be in October.
Okay. And are they all solar powered?
Solar powered, so we don't have to burn electricity. Rapid flashing beacons.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Is that school edition, where are they on that? Are they done?
I'm sorry.
When's the school edition supposed to be done?
Oh, that's another.
It ain't even started.
That's why I thought.
There's no walls going up.
No, I was up there tonight for Sunday.
I heard they're gonna call the school year off.
It'll take till it starts next year.
To get it done.
Yeah, and then it could be questionable. Johnston right now has kids that can't go to school yet.
In their
when
new
they're
school?
supposed to, in the middle school.
Oh, in the middle
School was already there and they redid the floor.
We have our tree work session next time too.
Yes.
It'll be great.
We will not have started school.
8th and 9th grades can't go to school.
Okay, item 13, staff report. We did that. I'm just reminding you we did that. Item 14, commission report.
A quorum call issue, I will not be here next month.
Is there another eclipse?
Another marathon.
Oh, another marathon.
Did you decide that tonight?
Yeah, really.
Okay.
You will not do.
Hey.
Do we want to move the tree thing to October? Because I definitely want everybody's input.
I would like a full vote.
I think you will want this because there's a lot of work been put into this, and what we tried to do is take the best that we could from all and come up with a softer version for the Johnston one. Because there was parts of the Johnston one that definitely had us all cringing.
So I guess is there anybody that has a wooded property that we would not, that's currently coming in asking questions that would make us want to expedite that and not delay it a month?
I know of no
Okay.
wooded ones that are not heretofore on the book somewhere.
Okay.
And does anybody have any conflicts with having it in October, the work session? Right now, anyway.
Didn't think we did the last one.
We'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the tree commission or whatever.
It's September.
Oh, so
We'll invite them as well. So if we move that to the October meeting, we'll just get everybody lined up.
Okay.
We'll get something up 2 months in advance.
Any other commission items?
Really quickly, for the sake of time, I'm running for school
I don't
board.
have far to go. That's
As I've been on this board, I've kind of looked at you guys as the experts, architects, engineers, kind of followed and listened. And I feel like on the school board, that's my expertise. If I don't know if I'll win or not. If I win, I'd vacate my position on this commission. But if I didn't happen to win, I would love to stay on it. I would obviously love your support, but also counsel, advice, anything you guys have for me, I'd appreciate it.
Okay. Well, I don't know whether to say we hope you win or not. We wouldn't want to lose you, so.
So there's no restriction, is there?
There's not, but I
Other than
think
your time, right?
Yeah, no, understand. Definitely.
I would like to give my full attention to that.
All right.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second. Jump on it. We're done. Okay.
You must go for a drink.
Can I have a
Good thing we didn't have a tree.